This video is going to be a tutorial on how to change out an outlet. Now I've been changing out all the outlets in my place, and I'm making a video each time I do it, so maybe somebody will see it and it will help them out. I've got the old style, it's beige or cream or whatever you call it, and I painted the wall white, so I'm going to be installing white faceplate and an outlet. So I'm going to show you how you do this. This is mostly a basic tutorial for people who haven't done this before. If you're an expert or a pro, then you already know how to do this, so don't leave any rude comments. What else do I want to say? My videos are usually long. I talk a lot. I show a lot of details, so if you don't want to see that, then go find another video. Let me get this out of the way. Do a thumbs up, a subscribe, or a like if you want to help me out. If you want to donate to my channel, ask for my PayPal info. And if there's a product that you want me to review, if I can get a hold of it, I will do the review. So I'm really big on safety and being careful and cautious and patient. So I'm going to be talking about that a lot while I'm doing this. So as far as this circuit, I will let you know. Okay, in this case, this is a 15 amp outlet. 15 amps. The outlet that's in here is connected to a 20 amp circuit that goes to the kitchen. 20 amp circuit has 12 gauge wire. 15 amp circuit has 14 gauge wire normally. You're not supposed to use the smaller 14 gauge wire on a 20 amp circuit. So the wiring is probably going to be 12 gauge on here. The outlet that's in here is an older outlet. I don't know if you can buy this one anymore, but it's an older outlet that accepts 14 gauge or 12 gauge wire into the little poke holes on the back. The new outlet that I bought does not accept 12 gauge wire, which means, so I haven't opened this up yet, but this is all assumption now. This only accepts 14 gauge, so I'm going to have to use the screws on here to put the 12 gauge wire on, which is totally legit. You can do that. You could, I did it in my last video, you could go out and buy a 20 amp outlet, which has a little T leg over here, a little line, and 20 amp doesn't have the little poke holes in there. It's got the screw terminals, so you may as well use the 15 amp. It's a little cheaper, it's easier. So let me show you how to do this stuff now. What I've got over here is I've got a circuit tester. If the red is off and the two oranges are on, that means the grounding is proper and the line, the neutral, everything is done the right way. It's all wired up the right way. And you should check it. You don't have to, but you should check that before you do this, so that if you have to make some wire swapping or changes, then you do that. Another thing that I want to talk about while I'm doing this is if you're wiring, you really want to duplicate the wiring that's in there with the new outlet. So normally if it's the end of a chain, if that makes any sense to you, if it's the last outlet in the chain, you're just going to have two wires, your black and your white, and then your green ground wire. And if this is connected to this outlet and another outlet, you're going to have a black and a white, and then you're going to have a black that goes to this outlet and a black and a white, black and white that goes to the outlet after it or before it. And if you're going to be doing switching on this, if you have a switch that controls one side of the outlet, top or bottom, if there's a switch on there, then you're probably going to have a red wire floating around here somewhere, and the tab, the little tang over here, is going to be broken off on one side. So if you have a switch, make sure that you double check to see which side you've got to break the tang off of. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over to the breaker, knock the power out, and then I've got a little meter over here. I'm not going to show you, but I've got a meter where I will check to make sure that it does not have power on it. Even after I shut off the breaker, I'll just check to make sure there's no power leaking. And then I will start taking the outlet out and show you how to swap everything out and install a new outlet. Power is off. I don't have a lot of room in this area. I've got I'm just squeezed between a bed and the wall, so I'm probably going to be blocking the camera on occasion as I reach for tools. I'm putting paper towel down on the floor in front of the outlet so that I don't have to clean up all the dust and everything later. I don't always remember to do that. So what I'm going to do is, sorry about that. I told you that was going to happen. What I'm going to do is take off the outlet plate first, and then we're going to take out the outlet, and we're going to find out what we're dealing with here. When you do this, if it's been painted on, use a knife or something so you don't have to damage the paint line. On here you can see how it's been patched up, so chances are when I break out the outlet, it's even painted to the outlet. When I break out the outlet, this is going to crack. If it cracks, you can either patch it up. I did a video on how to do some patching. You buy some patch material. If it doesn't crack that bad, just put the plate back on, or you can buy a larger plate and cover everything up. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to get the screwdriver into the notch over there of the screw. I'm going to try to score it a little bit to allow me to get the blade of the screwdriver in. I've got that on the top, I don't know on the bottom. There are little tabs on the back of these screws that hold them in so the screw doesn't fall off of the metal plate, the outlet cover. I mean the outlet ears over here. But if they fall into the box, that's not a big deal. Just unscrew it until the screw is out of the hole and it starts to wobble around. And then I'm going to go to the bottom one over here and I don't turn off my cameras when I record. So if you don't want to watch a long video, then go find another video that will help you out. Okay, this is kind of stuck in there now. I broke out the drywall over there. So, because I've got a bunch of, I think I patched this up when I moved in. Maybe somebody else patched it up. Bottom screw is out. You can see it's taped to the wall. So I'm going to try to do a little prying to break it loose. You got to be careful because if you pry too much, this is definitely painted on there. You pry too much, you're going to break the, oh boy. I might be doing some patching on this one. I could go in there with a knife, a little X-Acto knife, and break away the paint. Do the screwdriver, break away the paint. Okay, I think I broke away enough paint. It's kind of stuck on the outlet over there, which I don't like. So I think I've got the outlet out now. People are going to say, why did you spend 20 minutes showing me how to pull out an outlet? Because you're going to run into this. You're probably going to run into this. I don't want to. I got to break this piece out. Okay, you're probably going to run into this. And if you, like I said, if you know how to do this, you're not watching the video. So, and this is a very good reason why I've got the paper towel on the floor now, because all this stuff is flying all over the place. So, pull this thing out of the wall. And I'm surprised this has 4 wires. I thought this was the end of the chain. Obviously not. Because what that means is 2 wires went into the outlet for powering, and the 2 wires are going out of the outlet to power another one, and then we have this bare wire over on the side, which is going to be for ground. So normally I do the ground wire last because I don't want to have my hands, remember I talked about safety, I don't want my hands on both sides. You've got 2 wires make up a circuit. If you put your hand on both sides, if the power was on, it would kill you. If you touched one of these and you were touching a metal pipe, it would probably kill you. If you were stepping in water or stepping on concrete and you had bare feet, and you touch one of these wires, the power would go through you, out your foot, to the ground, and it would kill you. So you really need to be careful. You need to be patient. You need to go slow. You need to watch what you're doing with. You don't want to use both hands and touch everything. You want to have one hand. The other hand you got to be careful with. So that's enough for safety for now. So the ground wire is going to have to come off. And normally I will get the power out of the way before I do the ground wire. In this case, I think I want to see if I can get the ground wire out of the way. so I can maneuver the outlet a little better. Sometimes these screws come out, which is nice, because then if the screw comes out on the new one, now it's not, it's going to come out, it's going to come out. If it comes out on the new one, then you don't have to mess with the loop. If it doesn't come out, then you have to mess with the loop. Not a big deal, not a big issue. Okay, so I got the stuff's just falling out all over the place, but that's okay because there's still, I don't think I'm going to have to do any patching. So the ground wire's out of the way. We've got the wires out of the way. This definitely is 12 gauge wire. And like I said, the holes on here are 14 gauge holes. It even says on there 14 gauge wire. Whereas I'm looking on the back and I believe it says 12 gauge or 14 gauge for the holes over there. So I'm going to have to do this on the screws. In this case, what I'm going to do to prepare right now is I'm going to unscrew these screws as far as I can. I like to normally take them out, but in this case, I'm going to have to make a loop on the wires that I've already got in the other outlet. So, ground wire, I like to, as I said, remove that if I can. Sometimes it comes out easily. If it doesn't, you don't want to break off the tab over there. So, do all this stuff beforehand. Makes it a lot easier for you. Okay, I'm lucky. On this one, it came out. So I'll put that aside. And so now the hard part, the easy part, the hard part, is taking out these wires and getting everything set up so that I can, in this case, I'm going to have to make loops on here. If I didn't have to make a loop, I could just sorry, I could just remove these wires in the original outlet, take my sandpaper, emery cloth, steel wool, whatever you want to use, clean up the wire, clean up the corrosion if it's dirty, and then insert it into the holes. In this case, I can't really do that. So I've got to, I'm going to have to make a loop. Now, remember I was talking about touching both sides of the circuit can kill you. So you want to be really careful. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the two blacks, and I'll work on the black side first. I'm not going to be touching any metal, anything, any white wires, any grounding. So I can be a little bit safer with that, not worrying about what's going on. And then with the white ones, that's when you have more concern because now you're dealing with completing the circuit. So the way you take these wires out, you get a flat blade screwdriver, and sometimes the narrow ones work, sometimes the wide ones work. It just depends on the outlet. This is an old outlet with a really big gap. Most of these, you just put your screwdriver into the little notch below and you press. On this one, this has got a huge notch, and you have to put your screwdriver in and kind of angle it. So I'm going to get this away from the wall a little bit. Trying to look in the camera to see what's going on here. Because I got the ground wire out of the way, I've got the ability to maneuver a little bit better. You press down, and it should release the wire, if you're lucky. I don't think we really want my hand blocking the camera. I turned off the camera to do this. I ended up, I don't know if we can see it in the video over there, I ended up cracking the outlet just to remove the wires. The wires would not come out at all. So it just goes to show you how old this thing is, and yeah, the wires wouldn't come out. No matter what I did, I couldn't press enough to break the seal. So if you run into a problem like that, that's why you want your power off. So what I'm going to do now is, yeah, I'm not too thrilled about this. Actually built up a little bit of a sweat there, taking that off. So what I've got now is, you can see the wire, see how shiny it is. You don't want to take off a lot of material, but you just want to take off, I'm going to take off enough so that you look like you have a good connection there, a bare connection. And now, where's that outlet? If you look at this outlet over here, where is it? Over here, it's a strip. I'm trying to get the camera angled so you can see what I'm doing here. It's a strip gauge. And so the idea is that you put the wire in there, and it will tell you if you strip the wire long enough to do what you need to do. And this shows it's just a fraction shorter. This shows that it's perfect. When you're going around the screws like this, you really want to have enough material so that you can put a good bend on there. But in this case, you don't want to have too much material, but you want to have a good bend. And the wire needs to come out the back. So when you're installing this thing, don't do it like this and then think that it's going to go on the wall. You're going to have to mount it from the back. I'm trying to think if I want to make that loop a little bigger. With a wire. Okay, I'm just going to put a loop on there. You have options. You can use needle nose pliers. Am I zoomed in around? You can use needle nose pliers to put on a loop. Go over there on the tip and just bend it and put a loop on there. I'm not going to do that on camera because my arm's going to be in the way. You can get pliers like this, Romex pliers. Stick the wire into the hole over here and just fold it over and you'll end up with a loop. Got a loop on there now, and what you need to do, okay, I removed the green screw, so the green screw is the same size. You can put it in the hole over there, see if wow, look at that. Make sure that the loop is not so tight that the wire is not going to go around the screw. And you don't want to get the insulation under the screw, but just try to make sure that you've got enough wire extended so that the wire is not going, the black or white insulation is not going under the screw. Again, I'm going to have to, all I'm going to do now is I'm going to see if I can get these screws out, because if I can, it's going to make life much easier for me just putting the screw into the wire and pushing it in. If I can't, then also you want to remember what wire went on the top of the bottom. So if I can't do that, then, okay, the ground wire is going to go over on this side. So you just get your wire. You should be able to loop it in here like I just did. See what I did? And it's going to, remember I said it's going to have to come out of the back. Now the advantage, like I was talking about, of not having only working on the black right now is I'm able to touch this thing. I'm not worried about it. My body's not grounded. So I'm able to get in here and do what I need to do, keeping these white wires in here out of the way. And yeah, you should be able to see what I'm doing now. Some people like the wire to be really long. Some people don't want the insulation to be anywhere near the screw. In this case, I'm happy with what I've got over there. You should be able to see it. Wire's coming out of the back. Insulation's touching the screw, but I'm okay with that. Wire should go down halfway past the screw. I'm okay with what I've got over there. Yeah, it's going down halfway past the screw. So this is working out good. Except for, now that insulation is going way up there. I wish it wasn't as far up there. Not sure I want to go in there and strip anything and mess with it at this point and cause myself more problems. Except for having to break the outlet to get these wires out. And I wasn't trying. I was just trying to get the screwdriver to go in there. And wiggling back and forth and pressing in, and the whole thing just cracked. So I cracked the other side. Okay, so I've got the two black wires done. And when I end up pushing it into the wall, you want it tight. You definitely want it tight. You don't want these wires to come off. That's kind of hanging a little bit out of the screw, which I don't like. I'd like it to be seated underneath the screw a little bit better. Yeah, I could crank these out in just a few minutes, but I like to make videos to help people out. And a lot of people watch the videos, and then only a few people watch videos, so you just never know when you're doing something like that. And it takes about 3 times as long to do a project when you record. Alright, I wish I had better lighting in here, but as I said, I'm cramped between a wall and a bed right now, so now I've got those 2 wires done. Normally, I like to do the ground wire first, but I wouldn't be able to maneuver this whole thing around like I need to be able to do right now, so the ground wire is out of the way. Which, the only bad thing is that when you're putting the whole thing together, you got to be really careful you don't touch the black and the white side while you're screwing the ground wire in. That's why I removed the screw. It's going to make it a little easier to put it all together later. So what I've got to do now is get the two white wires out. Like I said, this whole thing is cracked. Already cracked apart. Let's see if these wires are going to come out at all right now. Oh boy. It does not want to come out. I don't know what they did. Okay, I just broke the thing out. Just to get it out of the way, let's take the white wire out on the top. I'm looking in there. I don't know what they did. Maybe let's press downward and see if that helps on this. No, just nothing's helping. Let me just get this wire out of here and get this circuit finished. So I'm going to go in with the sandpaper again. Clean it up just a little bit. I like when the loops are a little bit bigger, but I don't really want to go in there and screw with the insulation right now. I just want to get this thing done. As you can hear in my voice, I need some water. It's hot. We're almost towards winter time in LA. What are we at? We're a couple weeks away from Thanksgiving. It is sunny outside and 84 right now in the morning, 84 in the morning, while the rest of the country is dealing with floods and a lot of problems. That's why I live in California, the best state in the country. Of course, the people that live in the problem states will say we're the worst state in the country because we have lots of freedoms and lots of awesomeness out here. So in this case, I'm going to be using the needle nose pliers so I can get this done a little faster. I'm going to bend over. No, I'm not going to bend over. I'm going to bend the wire over. What are you people thinking? Okay. Sometimes I like using the Romex thing. It makes a really nice loop. Now, again, the power's off, so there's not a problem here, but you don't want to put your hand on the black while you're connecting the white wire. Not a safe thing. And if you were going to do that, if you had your hand on the black, it would kind of be okay as long as you weren't touching the white wire while you were putting it on. But I'm just going to hold the tab down over here, keep my fingers out of the way, try to get this white wire in here. That's a tight loop. I don't know if that's going to go in. I don't like that. It's a really tight loop. Can I get it in? If I can't, oh, okay, so that's going to be a beautiful, that's a nice loop. It's really, really nice loop, nice and tight. I'm going to hold it back here so I can keep the wire going to the back and not let it slide as I try to tighten this up. Press it against the wall a little. Hopefully it doesn't mar the paint. I just want to get that. Oh, that looks good. And the wire is underneath this little plastic tab over here holding it in the proper channel. I'm going to go to the back and the front. I'll press against the wall a little, tighten it down. Beautiful. Oh, that's clean. That is nice and clean. See how I've got that in there? It's being held by that little block of plastic. Now, all I have to do is get this other wire in here, and we're almost done. So, I'm going to hold the front and the back. Again, that's a really tight loop. It's a very tight loop. Too tight. But can I get it on there? Maybe. Oh, I got it on. I didn't think it was going to go in. Straighten the wire a little bit. So, loops around properly. It's being held in by that little plastic channel over there. A little plastic piece. Whew, it's warm. get out of here, and I'm going to head on over and get an adjustment on my back. I don't know. I'm pro and not pro chiropractor. I know they can do some amazing stuff, but it never holds. Everybody says if you go to a good chiropractor, they'll fix everything and it will hold, but then they go back constantly. So I got this guy that I'm going to now just because I'm doing all these weird projects, and he definitely helps, or it helps relax things or align things, and it holds for a while, but it doesn't last. It's kind of like going to a doctor every week for a cold, and you never end up getting rid of the cold, and you keep going back over and over and over. Oh boy, here's the phone call. Here we go. Okay, another spam call from the Marriott. All right, they call every week, and I press to have my number taken out of the call list, and they call every week. So I finally talked to somebody and said some nice words to him, and he hung up on me. All right, we've got the 4 wires done. I'm going to double check again. Make sure these are tight. These are really tight. These are nice. Okay, so all I've got to do now is I'm going to clean up the ground wire. You always want to have a good ground. You always want to have a solid ground on anything. And it was making good connection. It's not like you need to do this, but I like to do it. A good ground is a happy ground. We go in there, get some bare wire. This is going a lot easier than I expected. The one I did yesterday was just a nightmare. And I bought the 12 gauge outlet, and then I actually forgot and ended up putting the wire on the 15 gauge, which was okay. So, here we go. We got the wire, ground wire. You can bend this around, put the screw in there. See what I'm trying to do? What I'm trying to accomplish is make sure I don't touch anything in my order of doing all of this. So now I've got the ground wire. This came out easily, so it's going to go in easily. So there was a method to what I was trying to do to make sure that I was able to remove my wires in the right order so that I was able to put them in without making the job more dangerous than it needed to be. And if you do this for a living, then you probably don't care about that. You just crank this thing out in 5 minutes and you're done. So I got my ground wire on there, nice tight ground, tightening the screw down. This really worked out very nice. So get this out of the way. And then you just want to bend your wires in. Don't put your hands on both sides and touch and complete the circuit. Don't do that. 14 gauge wire, much easier to work with 12 gauge wire. It is thicker. This is a really small box with not a lot of room. Ugh. And you don't want to, that's why you got to tighten these things down really tight, because you don't want anything to come out as you're shoving all this stuff back in there. And that's really what it is shoving it in. Because it's an old outlet box, very narrow. This thing is tiny. Nowadays they don't use these. They use much larger boxes that can handle this wire, and everything's not scrunched in there. The chances are, in my lifetime, this is not going to be done by me again. And this building is still around. Somebody will either take these boxes out and put in the right box, or they'll just leave it the way it is. So I'm just trying to shove these wires in without breaking anything off. Try to feed one of these in. Top or bottom doesn't matter. You just want to feed one of these in. Try to get it to catch in the threads without stripping it. Okay, so I got one of them done. Oh wow, what are the odds of the bottom one already being in the hole waiting to be turned in? This is really good. This nobody on the video is going to appreciate it, but me, I'm loving this because this worked out a lot better than I expected. I'm going to press the outlet in a little bit. Okay, there we go. Yeah, this is working out nice. So, like I said, I'm redoing all the outlets in my place. I've got two more. One, I have even less room to work than I've got on this, and the other is going to power down the TV and the computer and everything, so I'm waiting for that to be the last one, tightening down the screws. You don't want to bend the ears unless, on the bottom, it's starting to bend now. You don't want to bend them unless you really have to. So it looks like it's lined up. Now I'm going to take off the faceplate. I'm going to do the faceplate. Put that on. I'm going to turn the power on. I got an old sticker here. When I moved in, I got a hold of a labeler and I labeled all my outlet covers with the circuit breaker number like they do in a business, and see if I can reuse this sticker. Yep, doesn't look great, but it's fine. Take the cover, put that on there, try to tighten it down, make it flat enough. All right, okay, that looks really good. That actually looks incredible. I'm very happy. I couldn't be happier. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to power this mess down. I mean the camera. We'll turn on the breaker and then finish off the video. All right, I am a happy guy here. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so you got the power on. I'll check the top, which you don't need to do unless you were thinking you really messed up. But that little bar that's on both sides connects the top and the bottom. You'd have to check that if you had a switch in the circuit to make sure that your switch was not, the switch was working. If the switch stayed on, if the power was connected, then you probably forgot to break off the little tab on the side of the outlet. So it is a little messy doing all of this. There's no doubt about that. And the result is, if you need to upgrade, you upgrade, put in new outlets, make it safer. When I've done this, some of my connections, the wires have been hanging loose. The grounds were hanging loose. The wire was not completely in the hole. So I guess that's going to complete the video. Thanks for watching. Again, do a thumbs up, help me out, and subscribe to the channel. And I did about 5 other videos on changing outlets. So if you want to watch those too, that's up to you. And make sure you watch all the stuff on my channel. Thanks a lot, everyone. Bye.